Good morning, everyone. Kevin here from Skywatcher. Welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast, where we take a look at everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks on visual and imaging. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest on to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. So it's the first part of November. The year is pretty much wrapping up. I know it's been I feel like this year has pretty much flown by, but thanks for all of you who've been hanging out with us this year. And it's been a lot of fun having you around. So at the beginning of the month, obviously, we talk about what's up in the nighttime sky, and that's no different. But before we jump into anything, if you are looking for anything for the holidays, I would recommend you start looking now. We have EQ6RI mounts in stock. Star Adventure 2 eyes are in stock. I believe some of our Evo stars are in stock as well. You can check with your dealer. We also have the Evo Lux 62 and 82. Those are in stock, as well as a variety of other items. But you can still get some stuff for the holiday season if you're looking for it. We do have some inventory of product available. And if there's something that you're missing and you won't have it for the holiday season, you want something to put under the tree, you can go over to the skywatcher.threadless.com. Get a shirt with your favorite hardware and pop that under the tree, or any holiday that you celebrate for that matter. But it's a great gift if you're looking for that as well. We have the swag that goes with your Skywatcher equipment. So that's pretty much that. But you can get that going. We do have plenty of equipment in stock if you're looking for stuff. So check with your local dealer if you're looking for something for the holidays, because they are right around the corner now. I know they're already playing Christmas music here, so in Phoenix. So with that being said, why don't we get started? If you like what you see here at the What's Up Webcast, please go ahead and subscribe, leave a like on a video. If you have an idea for an episode, go ahead and email us at info@skywatcherusa.com, title it What's Up, and give us your idea for an episode. We are putting things together for 2023. So if you got an idea or want us to cover something, go ahead and throw that over to us. We'd like to see it, and I have not been on the right screen this whole time. So let me backtrack really quick. Here's all the cool threadless stuff. You guys have seen that before. There's all the cool shirts you can get for the holidays if you want, or just to have because they're cool and awesome. But anyway, there's the threadless store. Sorry about that. Should have had that up. Thought I transitioned the screen. And then if you want us to go ahead and subscribe, please hit subscribe, and then you can email us if you have any questions there. If you want to know how to stay up to date with the latest availability and equipment and what other stuff is going on at Skywatch, you can go to skywatcherusa.com. And up at the top, there's the green bar. You can hit subscribe and save. Pop your email into our email blasts, and you'll see what the webcast is for the month, new product announcements, if we've got sales going on, whatever. You can go ahead and subscribe to Skywatcher there. We appreciate it. So let's talk about the brightest thing in the nighttime sky, and that is the moon. And I realize that I also need to open up one more thing for this really quick. Thought I had everything open, but there's one piece I need because we're going to be talking about it in a little bit. Where is it? Here it is. Bear with me just a second. There's one software that I needed that I don't have opened at the moment, and we're going to need it right after we talk about the moon. So just let me get that set up. Boop. Bring it over here. And whoop, there we go. Labels, lines, there we go. Okay, done. Cool. Now where were we? The moon. So the moon is the brightest thing in the nighttime sky, obviously, as we all know. New moon is at the end of the month, right around Thanksgiving, at least for the US here. November 23rd is new moon. Your dark sky weekend is actually going to be the 19th and the 20th. However, the following weekend, which is the 26th and 27th, which is technically Thanksgiving, the weekend of Thanksgiving. If you don't want to go shopping and dealing with all kinds of crazy people, you could go out to the far reaches, far away from people, And it will be a thin crescent moon that should be setting well before midnight, so you could get out and do a second kind of dark sky weekend, the weekend after new moon as well. But the dark sky weekend for November would be the 19th and the 20th. And then if you want to head out the following weekend, you could do that as well. You're just going to have a little bit of a moon early in the evening, or the weekend before, you're going to have that crescent moon rising in the early morning hours. So unless you're going to go observing in the middle of the week, which is the 23rd, which I believe is like a Wednesday, good for you. Those of us have to work, though. So, but yeah, that is your new moon. Your dark sky observing weekends the 19th and 20th. However, you could go out the following weekend if you need to. That's Thanksgiving weekend. I totally understand if you're tired of being around your family and just need somewhere to go. You could also hop out that weekend and go do some dark sky viewing after the crescent moon sets. Full moon for the month, however, is on the 8th, which is next week. It is the beaver moon for this month. This is where traps were usually set to capture beavers for their pelts before winter really set in. That is where the beaver moon gets its name for this month. But what more importantly, I'm sure a lot of you are also gearing up because here in North America, through the Pacific and into Asia, we have a lunar eclipse, a total lunar eclipse coming up on November 8th. And it should be pretty good. Let me pull the map up here. Here is the map of the lunar eclipse there. There we go. Everything in the shaded area will see some kind of eclipse. This is timeanddate.com, which is a fantastic website because what I like about this is you can actually click on where you're at and it will tell you when totality is and all that fun stuff. So here on the west part of the United States, we will be able to see the entire total eclipse. However, it is going to be early in the morning. So you're seeing some of these are like 1 a.m. Looks like it starts about midnight and goes till about 6 a.m. Roughly. So just depends on where you're at, but that's a really cool map. It's interactive and they can do that with all the different eclipses that are out there. Timeanddate.com. If you're in Hawaii, first off, I'm jealous of you. You'll be able to see the whole thing, right there. It goes right through the middle of the night. But that is the total lunar eclipse. Like I said, you're going to be able to get all the western part of the U.S. will get it. And then most of the U.S. will get, the entire part of the United States is going to get some portion of it, as well as South America, Mexico, the Pacific Islands, New Zealand will see all of it. Australia gets some of it, and then you get over into Asia and the Middle East area where you will get portions of it as well. So unfortunately, our friends in Europe and Africa, it's daytime, so you won't be able to catch it. So, but there you go. So something kind of cool there, if that's what you're looking to do. But that is the total lunar eclipse. I don't remember how deep it goes. Here we go. Cool animation here to see how deep the eclipse actually goes into the umbra here. If you don't know about lunar eclipses, we've done a whole episode about lunar eclipses, so you can figure out how to shoot it and the best way to go through it. But this one's pretty good because it goes pretty much right through the center of the Earth's umbra. Yeah, this one's like dead center through the middle. This one's actually going to be pretty good, actually. I guess it doesn't go all the way through, but it's going to get pretty dark on this one. So it should be kind of a cool eclipse to see. Might be worth getting up and watching it depending on where you're at. But anyway, that is November 8th. That's full moon night. And it also is a total lunar eclipse for those of you who are wanting to get up and watch it. So good luck with that. And I'm sure on Facebook on Wednesday morning we'll be bombarded with plenty of lunar eclipse images. Planets. If you haven't been outside in the evening lately, which I'm not sure what rock you've been under at that point, but it's planet season now. There's all kinds of cool stuff that's up in the evening sky right now. Of course, we have Saturn, which is nice and bright, hanging out there. Jupiter tonight, it's going to be right next to the moon. That'll be kind of a cool pairing up there if you're looking for something fun to see. Uranus is actually up here. Right down here is Uranus. And then trailing just a little bit behind Uranus, and then you've got the Pleiades, and then a little bit after that, once Taurus rises, you've got Mars coming up. And Mars is up about 9 o'clock now. Wow, that's getting up there. So we have Mars by later in the evening. Mars is starting to rise. Neptune is up here as well. I believe it's up here by Saturn and Jupiter. Yeah, it's not far from Jupiter right now. There's Stellarium would cooperate. There's Neptune right there. So in a row, you have Saturn, Neptune, Jupiter, the planet Uranus, and then Mars. You've got a nice chain of planets. They're all up by about 10 o'clock in the evening. So it's a good time to get out and observe the planets. Saturn and Jupiter are obviously naked eye visible. Excellent targets to get out and view. Mars is getting better. I don't know when its closest approach is at this point, but I haven't had a chance to really view it because it has been rather low. But we are going to start getting that into the evening sky here now. So that's kind of a cool collection of planets to go out and view. And if you're doing outreach, you've got quite a selection of targets to actually show people this fall. So all kinds of cool stuff. So that is the chain of planets right now. The software I'm using right here, this is Stellarium. It's free. You can download it online. You can control telescopes with it with the right connections. It's just a really nice program if you're trying to just kind of plan out your evening and see what's up. But that is what I use for talking about the night sky here on the What's Up Webcast. Is Stellarium. You can go on and download that for free. The graphics are pretty good for it as well. So it's an awesome free program that you can go get. But that is the planets. So something cool. Lots of stuff to go see. The sun. If you joined us 2 weeks ago, we were doing the Sol event. So thanks for those who came out. The sun obviously right now is starting to kick up, and we are just under a year away from the annular solar eclipse that's going to be occurring here in North America. That'll be cool. And then, of course, in April of 2024, we have the big one, the total eclipse, that will be coming through. But let's see, where's all my stuff? But we can get rid of this. If you want to see what's going on the sun today in H alpha, which I think is the most dynamic way to observe the sun, white light filters let you observe sunspots, or H alpha lets you see all kinds of detail and prominences and filaments and all kinds of cool things there for you. Today we do have some prominences, lots of filaments and some good active regions going across the sun there. So if you have an H alpha telescope, a solar H alpha telescope, not a nighttime H alpha filter, no. There's plenty of cool stuff for you to go see. So go check that out. There's always something changing there, especially as we get towards the eclipse. And as with anything observing the sun, please make sure you know exactly what you're doing. Only use certified solar filters. Do not mess with the sun. It really is not. It's a dangerous thing to do. You want to make sure you know what you're doing with it. But there is some really nice detail up there, especially in the hydrogen alpha wavelengths if you're looking to go out and observe the sun or image it or whatever you are looking to do. But it is a good time to get into solar observing. And you still have time to go find a solar telescope or a solar filter right now if you need to before the eclipse is really kicking into gear. But don't wait much longer because A, it's going to take you some months to probably get your solar telescope, especially if you're ordering one now. And the closer you get to the eclipse, the harder and harder it's going to be for you to find one. And that's going to be, especially because we have 2 back-to-back eclipses here in North America, it's going to get crazy. It always does. Just don't wait till the last minute. And if you do wait till the last minute, don't be one of those people who are like, what do you mean you don't have it? You knew about it for a while. So if you want to know what's going on there, just go to Google and type in GONG, G-O-N-G-H alpha, and it brings this up right here. It shows you the latest and greatest of what's going up on the sun. So that's kind of cool, something to check out. Meteor showers. for the month of November, the big one is the northern and southern Taurid meteor showers. And those are very close to the peak right now. It actually starts tonight. There's the 4th through the 12th. It's technically 2 meteor showers, but they are coming out of Taurus, the bull. The moon is very bright right now, so it's going to get more and more dominant as we get into full moon on the 8th. So the meteor shower is not really well centered right now unless you're going to get some really bright ones. I saw one last night driving home. It's a very good one. I don't believe it was technically a Taurid because it wasn't coming from the direction of Taurus. It was just a good one. But if you see some shooting stars over the next couple years, or next couple of nights, and it's coming from the direction of Taurus, which is rising in the east, it's probably a Taurid. So that is the Taurid meteor showers. November 4th through the 12th is when that is peaking, and that is the northern and southern Taurid meteor showers there. Comets. I don't know that there's very many comets up right now, but if you ever want to know what's up, go to cometchasing.skyhound.com. That's the website I like to use, and it's been very, very helpful over the years, showing you what's kind of up and out there for viewing. Maybe you want to image some of them. So it looks like the brightest one right now is in the southern hemisphere. That was C2017 K2 Pan-STARRS. You're looking at 8.7 magnitude. Pretty easy to actually get. That actually, David makes a really good point in the chat about the meteor shower. We're peaking in the Taurid meteor shower, but we have a lunar eclipse. So it might be kind of cool if you were able to get some shooting stars during a lunar eclipse during totality. So David makes a good point in the chat. Good point, David. Point goes to you. Could be some interesting things there. If you're in a dark sky, you might get some meteors from the Taurid meteor shower while in totality for the full moon. So go for it. Sounds like a Kodak moment. Some other comets that are up right now. We have C2022 E3. That's in the northern hemisphere. It's up in Serpens, about magnitude 10. That one's probably pretty doable. It says it should brighten by 1.5 magnitude, so that's just shy of visual capability, naked eye. If it's going to increase by 1.5 magnitude, and it's already at 10. So it won't even be naked eye, but it's not far from it. So you might want to keep an eye on this one right here. C2022 E3 might be a good one. And then there's some other stuff there. P1 or Neowise, that's up in Sagittarius, which you'd have to get in the early evening. And then there's a collection of other ones that are actually out right now. But these could be fun to image or view if you're just looking to get out and do some fun stuff there. But that is cometchasing.skyhound.com if you want to take a look and see all the different things that are coming out as far as comets go. All right. Deep sky targets. So we're still in that weird transition time where we have some of the big summer constellations up, but we have the autumn constellations as well. And if you stay up late enough, you've got the winter stuff coming in as well. So there's a lot going on right now, especially if you're a deep sky observer. This is my favorite time of year to observe because there's so much stuff to dig into out there. So first up, we have M57, the Ring Nebula. That's still nice and high up in Lyra, the Harp. So right after sunset, where is Lyra? This is a little later. Let me backtrack here to like 8 o'clock. Yeah, right about there. It's still fairly high. The Ring Nebula is sitting pretty decently positioned right there. Up in the constellation of Lyra. You can still get out there and observe it. You've got some good stuff floating around there. The Ring Nebula is about 2,500 light years away. You can do it visually. It's a great object to see in town with a moderate little telescope. 6-inch or smaller could probably do it. Larger instruments are nicer. If you're in town, an O3 filter or a UHC filter is highly recommended. It'll help pop that out a little bit more. Imaging, you can do it from in town. Just remember, it's a very small target, so it might be difficult for you to actually get some detail, and you want to do short exposures on it. And if you want to get crafty with it, you can actually do narrowband with it, because it is a planetary nebula. So you could give that a shot as well. That's a good narrowband target, and try to get the outer ring of the ring nebula, the petals. I like to call them the petals because they do look like flower petals. But that's M57 up in Lyra the Harp. Another nice planetary that's up right now is M27, the dumbbell, up in Vulpecca, about 9,800 light years, I believe. This is easy in town. It's a lot bigger than the Ring Nebula, so it's an easy one to get. Really looks nice in a variety of telescopes, but if you have some about 8-inch or larger, it does pretty good. It's not far from where the Ring is. It's kind of opposite Albireo, over here somewhere. It should be right over here. How is it not popping up? Stellarium. It should be easier to find than this. I'm not sure why it's not coming up. Hold on just a sec. If only we had a search bar. M27. I looked right there. Anyway, there's M27. It's not far from... It's almost opposite Albireo from the Ring Nebula. So the Ring's over here. Dumbbell's over here. There's Albireo right there, the head of Cygnus the Swan. But that is M27, the Dumbbell Nebula. It kind of looks like an apple core in the telescope. So kind of a neat one to go after. We did this as the Totem target a couple months ago. If you were trying to get the wings of M27, I believe that was last month's target. And we're going to show this month's target as well. But there's M27. There's still time to actually image this if you've got a little bit of time. It's an easy one to go after in town. It does nice with narrowband, but it also is a good visual target as well. Very impressive in a large aperture telescope from dark skies. And, 12-inch or larger, it gets pretty cool. My personal favorite, if you're going to dark skies, you have the Veil Nebula. This is in Cygnus the Swan. It's about almost 10,000 light years out. These do require dark skies. An O3 filter is ideal for visual, but a UHC will also work. You can see this in a 4-inch telescope, especially like a wide field telescope, like an Esprit 100 or like a Teleview NP101. Actually, a Teleview NP101 was the first time I saw the whole thing. It looks like a pair of parentheses, but if you're in a dark sky, a pair of parentheses is exactly what it looks like. Something about 500 to 600 millimeter focal length, with like a 30-something millimeter eyepiece and an O3 filter and a dark sky sight. You can get the whole thing. It's about 3 degrees of the sky. It's awesome. Larger telescopes, it gets very interesting, especially as the aperture increases. And once you get to about 15 to 20 inch or bigger, these nebulas just look like a picture. It's amazing how much detail is inside these nebulas, but it's an amazing complex. It's a supernova remnant. You can do this in-town imaging. It's very receptive to narrowband, particularly like a bicolor image. If you're doing H alpha and O3, that's a very receptive target to narrowband, and there's still time to get it. The Veil Nebula is hanging out right over here in Cygnus, right here, just off of Cygnus's eastern wing. So there's still time if you actually wanted to image this. You could probably get a couple hours on it before it gets too low. Cygnus is still fairly high, but you still have time to get it before it completely sets for the fall, winter times. But that's the Veil Nebula right there. I highly recommend. It's my favorite target, just because it's so complex and intricate. All right, the dominating galaxy of fall here in North America, or the Northern Hemisphere, is M31, the Andromeda Galaxy, 2.5 million light years away. You can see this in town. It looks like a fuzzy. Dark skies obviously help get the more structure, the dust bands and the arms, all that cool stuff is floating out there. It's a very nice galaxy to get. Binoculars, it's extremely impressive to actually see it because you just see how big this thing actually is in the nighttime sky. So if you're at a dark sky site, like a good pair of 50 millimeter or larger binoculars, something easy to handhold, you really get an idea of how large Andromeda actually is. So it's an amazing galaxy to see, and there's all kinds of little details, especially as you get larger and larger apertures on top of it. Imaging, you can do it in town. Dark skies help. If you are imaging it, though, don't be afraid to add a little H alpha in there, because you can pull out the H2 star forming regions inside the galaxy. There's some nice detail hidden away in there. And there are, if you're shooting really wide field, it actually sits in a very light cirrus cloud of hydrogen around Andromeda. You need to do some very deep exposures, but there are some very nice H alpha clouds that are sitting in this field that come out. So if you're doing narrowband, give that a shot as well. You'd be surprised what you can pull out around M31 in narrowband H alpha. Not far from M31, we also have M33, the Triangulum galaxy, about 3.2 million light years away. This one is a lot more diffuse compared to M31, so darker skies are really required for this one. Even in some decent aperture, you can see it. It looks very much like the image that you see here. Like in my 28 under dark skies, it looks a lot like the picture, and you can see all the little molting details in there, but it's very diffuse, and it takes some time for your eye to adapt to seeing it like that. In town, it's very difficult. Even in moderate aperture telescopes, it just doesn't pop like M31 does. So it can be a little bit more challenging of a target to get unless you're in those darker skies. Imaging, you can easily do it in town. It'd be a little bit harder because if you're imaging in town, you generally get gradients from lights and other, artificial light that's floating around there. Even if you're using a light pollution filter, you're probably getting some kind of gradient in your image, and that can be a real pain when you're dealing with something this diffuse. So you can give it a try. It's just more challenging in town, but it is a good imaging target. There's some nice structure in there. It doesn't take much to actually get it in the frame because it's still relatively bright for the camera. And don't be afraid, again, to put some H alpha detail in there. There is some really nice gems of H2 regions or star forming regions that are in the galaxy's arms. It's a very cool object to go out and see. But it is more of a challenge than M31 is. But yeah, that is M33. You can see it in binoculars as well in very dark skies. Next one up at the head of Pegasus is M51, or M15. I'm sorry, not M51. This is up in Pegasus, about 32,000 light years away. It's a globular cluster. It's kind of one of the last hurrahs of globular clusters. These objects are normally visible in the summer months because they're around the core of the Milky Way. M15 and a handful of other globular clusters are visible in autumn and winter. But this one is one of the brighter ones that are visible this time of year. It's easy to do in town. Almost any size telescope can get it. Obviously, darker skies, bigger telescopes make it even more interesting. Globular clusters, I feel, are constantly overlooked for an imaging target because they're not that difficult of a target. You don't need really long exposures to shoot it, but there's some nice detail that you can get out. So don't overlook clusters if you have the chance. But what was really interesting to me is when I imaged this, just to see how much flux nebula is actually floating in the field that I'd never seen before. So that's a cool one to go out and actually try to observe, or try to actually see if you're imaging, to see if you can see the flux nebula that are in there. With the modern cameras nowadays, it's a very easy thing to actually pull out, especially if you're using a camera that has a IMX 571 like the ZW2600, or the 455, like the ZWO 6200 or QHY 600. And then, of course, you have the 533, the little brother of those trios. But yeah, try that out. Try M15. Try to see if you can get the Flux Nebula to come out if you're shooting that particular field. Next up, it's rising now, is M45, the Pleiades. It's up in Taurus. I'm sure you've seen it rising up there in the east. About 9 o'clock. It's above the horizon. This is a staple of the fall and winter skies here in North America. Almost goes directly overhead for most of the U.S. It's great in any type of sky. You can generally see it unless you're in the worst locations, but normally it's a naked eye target from the average backyard. Anything from your naked eye all the way up to a decent sized telescope. It's a great object to view. It's perfect for outreach events because it's big and bright. It's a fun one to talk about because of its history. But small refractors all the way up to, decent aperture telescopes. The Pleiades is just a staple this time of year. And photographically, it's a fantastic object because it's not just the cluster, but you do have the nebulosity that is actually in the same field. Now, the interesting part is the Pleiades cluster itself is actually passing through the dust clouds that are in this region, lighting it up. The dust is not actually part of the cluster usually. It just happens to be from our vantage point that's cruising through this area. So all this dust out there is getting a really nice lit up. But these are reflection nebulas. Reflection nebulas are difficult because they're not like a emission target like M42 or the Horsehead or the North American, these big bright red nebulas that can be lit up using an H-alpha filter. Reflection nebulas, you just need straight, good, dark skies to get them. There's no filter that will help you with a reflection nebula. So, but this one's fairly easy to get. You can probably do it from your backyard, but if you really want to get that faint nebulosity, you really got to go after it from a dark location. And there's so much stuff in this region that it makes it very, very impressive to actually check out. So that's M45, the Pleiades. Amazing target. It should be on it's just one of those targets everyone has to look at throughout the year when it comes back up in the sky. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more off the beaten path, you have NGC 7331 and Stephan's Quintet. These are galaxies up in Pegasus. Now, NGC 7331, it's also known as the Deerlit Galaxy. That one's a larger galaxy. There's some really nice detail on that one individually. It's about 40 million light years away. But just a hop, skip, and a jump over, there's a very small, intricate collection of galaxies known as Stephan's Quintet. This is a really fun visual target to go after because it's a challenge to see how many galaxies you can actually resolve. Aperture and dark skies are where this is at visually. You can do it in an 8 to 10 inch telescope, but if you have a friend who's got, a 20 or something inch telescope, put some high power on it. Really start to push that power up to like 150, 200x. Try to break these galaxies apart. Especially if you have access to some serious aperture under some dark skies. And see what you can actually see inside of Stephan's Quintet. It's a very intricate collection of galaxies. The James Webb Space Telescope shot this a few months ago. That was amazing. But the fact that we can actually see it in our amateur telescopes, and it's also a fun target to go after just on its own. Photographically, there's a lot going on in here. There's tons of galaxies in the region. There's a bunch that are around NGC 7331, as you can see. And then you also have Stephan's Quintet. This was taken with the Esprit 150 at our remote telescope at Skies Away Remote. With the ZWO 6200. I think this field is cropped just a little bit, but even at 1,000 millimeters, you can just see how many galaxies are in here. It's a very nice collection of galaxies. It's a fun one to go after. And just to give you an idea of where that is, let's pull up Stellarium, NGC 7331. Almost overhead, but it's right here in the front part of Pegasus, not far from Lacerda. So it's under the front leg of Pegasus. This is where NGC 7331 and Stephan's Quintet are sitting right there. So that's a fun, challenging target to go after, not only imaging-wise, but visual as well, especially if you've got some aperture to go off of it. To change things up a little bit, we also have the constellation Cepheus up, and Cepheus is just a freaking dust cloud. And one of the objects that we're looking at in there is Barnard 174 in Cepheus. I don't know the distance on this one. Visually, I don't even know how viable this target actually is visually. You would have to have some extremely dark skies, probably very transparent, and probably some pretty decent aperture to try and pull out the faint nebulosity of this dark nebula. I will let you guys know that moving into next year, the totem targets are going to get a lot more difficult. We feel like we've been a little easy on them, so we're really going to start upping the ante next year, and starting this month, moving forward, the totem targets are going to be a lot more difficult because we really want you to push the envelope of what you're doing, but they're going to be very similar to something like this, like Barnard 174. We want to definitely push you over the edge to get out of your comfort zone and try to get something that's just crazy. So Barnard 174 is a dark nebula up in Cepheus. It's one of the many, many amazing nebulas that are in that constellation. It is a dark nebula, but there's also a ton of hydrogen in this nebula. So right here, you've got the dark nebula, and then I went back and shot H alpha, which helped pop the field out. But there's a ton of nebulosity in this region for that. But that's Barnard 174. There's a bunch of other objects up there, but dark skies are really needed to pull this out. You could try from in town. I'm sure you could get it, but pretty decent exposures to get the faint nebulosity to come out there. But yeah, that is Barnard 174. But yeah, be prepared that totem targets are going to be a lot more difficult moving forward, and they're going to be a lot more dusty because we definitely want to put you over the edge to try and actually get you to go out there and push yourself to do something new. All right, totem of the month, target of the month. So for those of you, we had a ton of submissions this month, a bunch, and we've pretty much shipped everyone's patches at this point. Let's see. Hold on, there's a question here. I own a Star Travel 102 and a Star Travel 150. Saw Barnard's loop with both of them 2 days ago. I'm wondering if Skywatcher is going to make an 8-inch version of the Star Travel. No. An 8-inch refractor, even an achromat, would be... It's probably, I will be honest, it's probably something we could do. Our engineers and optical people who design this stuff and fabricate it are very good. Making an 8-inch refractor would probably be doable, but an 8-inch refractor is a massive instrument, and it would probably have to be something like f6, and it's just probably beyond what we would do. So as awesome as an 8-inch f6 achromat would be, A, it would be a very large telescope. B, we're not really in the business of doing the large achromats. If you want something like that, I would go to iStar. Like an iStar 204 f6 would probably fit your needs. It's going to be expensive, but you're talking about an 8-inch refractor. So at this point, I would not expect to see any 8-inch refractors from Skywatcher anytime soon. If there's going to be one, I'm going to get it. I'm just kidding. But a friend of mine who was at Seoul, Simon Tang, he has an 8-inch iStar. And I got to see it a couple weeks ago at Seoul. And my God, that's a big refractor. And so the short answer there, no. We won't be making an 8-inch refractor. And if it is an 8-inch refractor, it would probably be an APO, because that's where a lot of the demand is for a big refractor, is for imaging. So sorry, but we probably won't do an 8-inch achromat. There's just not much of a market for them at this point. Very cool idea, though. All right, target of the month. Totem rules. If you're new to Totem, you must provide an image by the end of the month. You're going to email that to info@skywatcherusa.com. You can also email it to Totem. We prefer you do the Totem email, but we have had people throw it in there. You must provide your name, equipment, image specification, mailing address. It has to be the US and Canada only. If you are in Canada, please send us your phone number and your email as well. We need it to ship to Canada. I had a few this month that did not provide that. You guys did get back to me, but in your submission email, please go ahead and just provide that. You also need to provide a fit file so we know it was taken within the month. You cannot submit old data to us. You don't get the Totem target thing there. So the Totem target for October was IC59 and IC63, the Ghost of Cassiopeia. As long as you got one of them, you were good to go. I am surprised how many people did this target. There was a lot of you, and I didn't put everyone's in here. I only put a handful of images in here. If yours isn't in here, I'm sorry, but we had so many submissions this month. It was just hard to get everyone's patch shipped out. So if I don't see it, if you don't see your image, I'm sorry. Like I said, there was so many that we had to do it. But here's some awesome, Greg Meyer did this with his Esprit 120. I love the detail Greg has with the extensions that go out. You don't see this portion too often. You do get IC 59 and 63, the ghosts here, but this chunk out here you don't get too much. James Hawk, yours was really ghosty. I like it. This is pretty cool. Steve Miller, got some good stuff. This was with a 12-inch Dob, which was crazy. Bob Hughes, had the pleasure of meeting Bob a couple times. He's local, as is Greg Meyer. Bob with the Hyperstar is pretty crazy. Pete Brown, very nice stuff. There's a lot of really good, here we go, Max, representing the Quattro, and he's using the Starizona Nexus that drops the Quattro to F3, and the fact that you did this with a Nikon DSLR is really impressive, so really, really cool work. Love the detail and the structure. You really got the aperture backing you up there. Some really, really, really good submissions this month. We are thinking about it, and I would like to get people's opinions on this. The possibility of whoever, out of the submissions that we get each month, the possibility of all those submissions go in, and then we will pick one, and the winner of the month will have their image put on a shirt that will be available through the Skywatcher Threadless store. And then you can get it, or people can buy it, or whatever like that. So just an idea. If you like that, throw that in the chat. Let us know if you think that's cool. So basically you would submit. We'll show as many images as we can in here. And then during the What's Up for the Month episode. And then we will ultimately have one picked by our marketing team, most likely. And that will go on to being a shirt that people can actually buy at that point. That's just an idea. So let us know what your thoughts are in the chat if that seems something cool. And so we'll go from there. So we're in November now, which means we're going to up the ante a little bit. So 2022 November target. We are going to go with Simesis 147, aka Sharpless 240, or the Spaghetti Nebula. This thing is faint. This thing is big. Over 3 degrees of the sky. This is the challenge target for November. It is a narrowband capable thing, so you can do it in town, but it's a big, big target. The best framing I've seen with this is really wide field or mosaics or even a 135 or 200 millimeter telephoto. But it's a very intricate nebula, but good luck getting that. Another thing, we are, most of you, we have pretty much shipped out all the October Totem patches. So some of you have probably received those already. Next month, I think we will be showcasing the new 2023 patch. We just put the order in for them. We have not shown them to anybody, but we'll be showing the 2023 patch probably next month as we will wrap it up for the year. So there won't be many 2022 patches. The OG Totem patch, there won't be many of them floating around there. But 2023, we've got a whole new patch out, which would be kind of cool. And once we're done with that year, we'll do another edition. So every year they're going to be different. But that is your target of the month, the Simesis 147, the Spaghetti Nebula in Taurus. Good luck. It is a narrowband target, but it's a hard narrowband target. Let's see. There is some questions here. We did the star travel question. Will the new totem targets require narrowband filters then? We're going to change it around. Some of them are not going to be narrowband. You're just going to have dark skies. We really would like the totem targets to be a challenge. We want to push people to try different types of targets, different types of imaging, and kind of get you out of your comfort zone and not just shooting easy things all the time. So some will be narrowband, like Simesis 147, and then some you're just going to have to do dark skies or challenge what you can do from your backyard. But we'll see as we move forward. But we do want to up the ante and go for a little bit more exotic targets and a little bit more difficult. So we're going to give that a try. What about your Skywatcher Hawaiian shirt? Still in development. Haven't moved forward with that. We got a lot on our plate right now. Nothing yet. So a calendar, that's kind of a cool. I'm sure we will have a discussion about all the different ideas for like the best object of the best image of the month or something like that out of the totem targets. But that's that. But anyway, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. I know we're finishing up just a little early, but good luck on the totem targets. Like I said, we've pretty much shipped out all the totem October patches. So you should have gotten yours or it's on the way. We are also working on an auto response just in case. We do get a lot of people asking if their image came through. So we're going to try to set up an auto response that just says, thank you for your submission. We got it. So we'll get that going just so you know that it came through. Because we do check that email all the time, but it's not like an email that it's just for submissions. So but we'll try to get an auto response set up for that, just so you know that we got it. So yeah, if you like what you see here on the What's Up Webcast, please go ahead and subscribe, leave a like, lets us know we're doing a good job. If you have an idea for a future episode, email us at info@skywatcherusa.com, title it What's Up. But that pretty much wraps up what we're doing for November. Good luck on the totem target of the month. I look forward to seeing what you guys can do. Next week, we're talking about building an affordable imaging system. Now, next week is the first episode after the time change occurs. And because we are still doing time changes, in Arizona we're not. We don't like doing that. But the rest of you will be changing your clocks next week on actually the 6th. This weekend is when the time change occurs. So next week, please make sure that you're aware that we are at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So it's going to be an hour difference now for a lot of people. So pay attention to the clock. Pay attention when we're actually going live because it's going to be at a different time due to the time change. It's still 10 a.m. Pacific, but because of the time change, everything's going to be a little different. But we're going to be talking about building an affordable imaging system. So we hope to see you there. Please remember the time change. We will see you guys next week. Please have a great weekend. Stay warm. It's been rather cold. Go out and observe the planets, check out the moon, and good luck on the lunar eclipse. So other than that, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next Friday. Take care. Clear skies.